Superstar, 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 superstar.
Hi guys, this is Tim with the Phone Doctors. Today I'm going to show you how to do an Apple iTouch 4th generation digitizer LCD replacement. To tell us that is a 4th generation, you have a camera up top, the only iTouch that does have one, and so on the back as well. To start, make sure you have all your tools and your new screen. Screen here, as you can see, the LCD and the digitizer is all infused together, so it will not be being separated. The tools that you'll need: opening tools, black plastic pick, and a metal pick, as well as a Phillips screwdriver. Also have pre-cut 3M adhesive for the to hold the screen down. And more importantly, the screw mat. Magnetic screw mat holds all the screws down in one spot so you don't lose any screws. Very, very important if you're working in a kind of a messy environment. And also you can use a heat dryer, hair dryer, or a heat gun from your local hardware store to heat the screen off. That's the first step we're going to do. We're going to heat it off to basically loosen up the 3M adhesive that holds the screen down. It's not imperative that you use one. I like using one because the screen doesn't crack as much, and it's a lot less work to clean up. Now when using the heat gun, you definitely want to keep it moving. You don't want to keep it in one spot because you can start melting the outside housing, as well as the camera, home button, that sort of thing, which you don't want to melt and have to replace. So just kind of move it around. And all I'm doing is just getting the 3M loosened up so I can pull the screen off, hopefully in one shot. I'll take my metal pick here and pick up. It's already broken over here, so I'm going to try to work that one off first. Of course, have a small rag here. You can also just use a basic hand towel at home if you don't have one of these rags, and the screen's iTouch is made out of metal, so when heating it up, obviously it's going to get hot. And just getting just underneath the screen. So, and pops off like that. So you have the 3M adhesive that we loosened up. Now, when picking the screen up, it's very imperative that get it open here. They separate. There's a Wi-Fi flex that's right up here, and a lot of times it wants to stick to the back of the glass. What you want to do is get your black plastic pick and get underneath the screen and kind of separate that cable. You want to rip that because your Wi-Fi then wouldn't work. So I remove that from the back of the glass because it sits right here. It's 3M to here. That's the most common thing that's ripped on this device. So I've got that separated, and now the screen is completely loose except for the little wire right here, which is your digitizer, and that we can cut off since the screen will not be replaced. And just broke that like this. Now don't throw this away because it's got a couple things that's very, very important, such as your home button, which you can take your pick and kind of separate that. That's kind of just stuck to the back of the LCD. So we'll keep that, put it off to the side, and this metal bracket right here. This metal bracket is going to hold that screen down when we put the new one on. And very imperative that we keep this as well. And it's 3M'd as well. We'll just keep this separated. So, get that bracket taken off. So after that, we can throw this away. We're done with that screen. Now back to the device. What you want to do is you want to peel off all this 3M adhesive off. Now, if you get the screen off all in one piece and there's no glass whatsoever around, then you can leave it on there. But I like to peel it off because I don't want any glass underneath the screen. If there's glass underneath it, it can cause it to break easier next time, and the screens aren't cheap. I'll take my pick here and just kind of scrape off the glass. A repair like this usually takes about 30 to 40 minutes to do, depending on how quick you are. Preferably, if you've never done one, definitely take your time. Don't rush through it. People ask me, scale of 1 to 10 as far as repair goes, this is probably one of the tougher repairs to do because there's so much detail, so much stuff you can break. And I'm going to show you how not to break anything on this device. I got all the 3M off the phone, or off the device. And so now I'm going to bring my screw mat in, because we're going to start taking some screws out. You have 3 screws here at the bottom portion, 4 screws here on the left side, then you have a screw up here by the Wi-Fi flex, and then a screw here on the right side that will take off. We're going to want to take this metal bracket off so we can lift the circuit board up to replace the touchscreen. I'll go ahead and remove these screws. As the screw mat is so cool, as you can see here, the screws still in position, and I lifted it up. So very, very important to have one of these laying around, and we have these available for all the iPhones, as well as the 3G, 3GS, iPhone 4, GSM CDMA, and iPhone 4S. So very cool to have one of those. Now that we got all the screws out, I'll take my black plastic pick, and we're going to pick up the frame. Now this frame is 3-in-Heist down to the circuit board. 2 important things: the ringer speaker dock is right here, that is 3M to. If you and we're going to try to separate it without pulling up that ringer speaker, because the ringer speaker is actually soldered to the circuit board, and we do not want to rip that. So what I'll do is get my plastic pick here, or my metal pick, excuse me, and get underneath it. But I'm putting a lot of pressure up towards the frame to kind of get in between those, and I'll do a rotating action like this, and it releases it. Now I'll put my thumb right there to keep it away, because if it sits back down, it'll reattach. Now, the other important feature or part here is that this frame is 3M, like I said, to the circuit board. Right here is where your power flex is. This little small ribbon right here that you'll see, and we don't want to rip that. That makes your power button, volume keys all work, and we'll try to avoid ripping that. So I'll put my pick right in here. I don't want to push in too far. I'll point this out. About right here on the circuit board are circuits. You push this too far in, you'll start chipping circuits off, and at that point the device probably would not power back on. So I only push it in just a little bit, and what I do is I'm pushing down this way. It's what it's doing is getting in between the power flex and the frame, and so I'm pushing down against the power flex so it doesn't rip, and I pull up on this frame like this, and it comes off. There's your power flex right there, and the little circuits that I was telling you about. Because this is 3M down, if you just pull this up, it'd rip this cable, and not good. Frame comes off. Now if you end up ripping the power flex or the ringer speaker, it is definitely fixable. It's something that I do recommend bringing to our national repair department, which you can always contact us at the phone number down below, or if you have any technical questions as well, we're more than happy to help you out with that. It does require some solder work, but we were able to help you out in that regard. Since we got the frame off now, what I'll do here is I like to take off the adhesive right here on this ringer speaker, and the why I like to do that is because if I have to do it again, less likely of me breaking or ripping the ringer speaker. So I'll peel that off. Now there's a little bracket right here on the camera that holds the back camera in, and that unclips out. Just push that off to the side, and then kind of pick the camera out. The camera just folds backwards like this. The Wi-Fi cable will unfold back here. And now we're ready to pull the circuit board out. Before we do that, we gotta take out there's two screws holding the circuit board in. One right here above the LCD connector, and one right here above the front camera. We'll take those two out. And then there's a spot on our screw mat for those to go. Alright, so those two screws are removed. Now, power flex, I said, is right here, and it feeds all the way up into the circuit board to right here where your power button is. What you want to do is you want to get your pick in between the circuit board and this flex cable here. Reason why is you don't want the circuit board popping up and scratching or cutting that flex cable, causing the cable not to work again. So we'll get our pick in between here and pick up. Like so, the circuit board makes this kind of weird action. Obviously, you don't want to pick it up on this side because the power flex is holding it in. You will want to get your pick underneath the board here because the front camera is adhesed to the back of the housing, and we'll just loosen that up here. As you can see, the camera is now loosened, and I'll kind of push this guy out of the way, like so. So now the circuit board's like this. And now the digitizer we're going to remove. It's got this kind of foil around it to hold it in, and the digitizer's just plugged in, so I'll kind of get wedged in between the circuit board and the this flux cable. I'll take it off like this. So now we're ready to plug in the new touchscreen. So we have the new screen. A couple things we have to do. We'll have to prep the touchscreen to put into the new device. We'll have to put in the home button. Okay, so home button now inserted, and then we'll take our bracket here and reinsert this. Notice how this one has a small little hole cut out. That matches up with the small circle right here to the left of the LCD connector. Line that up and it'll fit. It'll line up just perfectly. Okay, so that's ready to go. Peel off the plastic part. And this can be a little tricky, so just definitely take your time when you're trying to plug it in. You'll hear kind of a snap click sound. That means you know you've got it in there. So now the touchscreen is assembled. I'll bend the camera back into position right here. And now the circuit board is ready to be put back into place. Now right here, it doesn't feel like it's going to want to push in. It's kind of stuck. Well, basically the digi just needs to bend correctly. So you just kind of push down and it's in place. Put just a little bit of force on it. You don't have to cram it down. You can just put a little force in there. I'll push the camera back down into place here. Now I'll put the two screws that hold the circuit board back into place. and I'll plug the screw back into the Wi-Fi connector. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to plug the LCD in. What we're going to do is we're going to just make sure the touchscreen's working perfectly fine before we go ahead and put everything else back together. So I got it plugged in here, and I'll just hit the power button, and it seems to be working. Slide it up, make sure the camera's working properly. It's a little blurry now since we don't have everything back together. Oh, there's the front camera. So all that is working perfectly fine. So now I'll go ahead, take my plastic pick, unplug the LCD. So now we're ready to reinstall the rest of the device. Our metal bracket, it's got two little lips right here, which will go into the little two holes over here. That goes in first and then push down. And this just fits snug right there. Now I'll put the rest of the screws back into the iTouch. Okay, I've got all the screws back in. We're going to put the camera lid back on. This just holds the back camera in place. Just snaps in. Now we're ready to take our adhesive and put it in place to hold the screen down. There's a couple holes that you want to. It's got some cutouts here, and this is basically where your screws are at. You just don't want that to be covered up. So if you had to take this thing back off again, you don't have to reuse your adhesive. So we're going to do the top first. Bring it all the way forward so I have plenty of action to put the adhesive down. It's already pre-cut out, so it makes it pretty easy to lay down in there in the right position. And once you get it set down, take your pick and take off the top layer. It's double-sided tape, and it's still on there. So top portion's done. I'll bend the screen back out this way and do the same thing at the bottom. If you're watching this video but you don't have the tools or the screen parts, anything like that, you can go to our website, PHONEDOCTORS.com. We have all those available, and usually ships within 1 day. Right, so now the 3M adhesive is ready to go. I'll pick the screen up here. Now this digitizer right here, it does bend in two different ways, so we'll have to show you how to do that here. I'll plug the LCD in. LCD is now plugged in, and the flex, it bends this way first, then back towards the front, and then bends this way. So I guess it bends 3 times. The screen's got to bend. It's got to bend correctly, otherwise the screen will not sit down properly. And so now, what we'll do is we'll pull the screen back out slightly, and you'll kind of fill the bracket down here, fit in a little groove on the housing, and you push back up and push down. And as you can see here, the screen fits flush all around. Now sometimes when you drop these, sometimes it has like little divots in the corners. Sometimes you gotta kind of bend those out a little bit for the screen to sit down fine. But this one didn't have any of those, and hit the home button. Seems to be working. And that is how you do an iPad or iTouch 4. And that is how you do an iTouch 4 digitizer LCD replacement. Make sure if you like what we're doing here, go to our YouTube page and subscribe. You'll get all email alerts, and we'll update new videos all the time. iPad 3 is coming soon. More Galaxy screens. Of course, the new iPhone that's coming out later this year. I'm sure we'll have one of those on there as well. And make sure to check out our Facebook and Twitter pages as well. Thanks for joining us. My name's Tim with the Phone Doctors. You guys have a great night.
Take a trip to my